They never tell you how early the world begins naming you. Sometimes it starts before you even understand language, long before you understand God. Someone calls you slow, and you believe it. Another calls you ugly, and you carry it. A teacher says you will never become anything, and it becomes a prophecy that settles into your bones. A parent compares you with a sibling, and suddenly you start performing instead of living. And slowly, without even knowing how it happened, people begin to shape mirrors for you. Mirrors that don't reflect who God says you are, but who the world has decided you must be. For many believers, the deepest spiritual battles are not fought with demons, but with distorted identities. The enemy may not always start with temptation, he starts with definition. Because if he can name you, he can claim you. I want to start with something that once shook me deeply. During an interview, a former high-ranking Satanist, now a Christian, said something that froze the room. "We never attacked Christians who knew who they were. We attacked the ones who didn't. The insecure ones, the confused ones, the ones who didn't know their identity. They were already spiritually naked." That statement struck me because it revealed something many believers never consider. Spiritual warfare is not always about power. Sometimes it is about identity. The enemy may not need to defeat you if he can simply convince you that you are already defeated. He may not need to bind you if he can convince you that you were born bound. He may not need to possess you if he can persuade you to surrender your authority. Identity is the spiritual passport that determines what realm you live in. There was a woman who grew up in a home where every mistake she made was magnified. When she cried, she was told she was dramatic. When she asked questions, she was called stubborn. When she wanted to dream big, she was told she was unrealistic. Over time, she stopped speaking up, stopped desiring, stopped believing. Years later, she found herself attracted to toxic relationships because subconsciously she believed she deserved them. Her problem was not the devil. Her prison was the labels she absorbed. When she finally encountered the presence of God in a deep way, she said something that still echoes in my spirit. "I didn't get delivered from demons. I got delivered from names." Names are spiritual. Labels are spiritual. Words are gateways that shape identity, and identity shapes destiny. Before God changed Abraham's destiny, he changed his name. Before Jesus revealed Peter's calling, he renamed him. Before Jacob could become Israel, the angel confronted his identity, not his behavior. And the same way God uses names to establish destiny, the enemy uses names to disrupt it. That is why some of you feel a deep internal conflict. God calls you chosen, but the world calls you rejected. God calls you forgiven, but your past calls you guilty. God calls you whole, but life calls you broken. And you are stuck between two names, one earthly, one heavenly. Let me pull from another true story. A former witch who came to Christ shared how spiritual identities function in darkness. She said every person gives off what she described as a signature, not physical, but spiritual. She insisted that insecurity, shame, fear, and identity wounds emit what she called weak vibrations. Those vibrations, according to her, made people easier to manipulate, confuse, or spiritually attack. But when a person walked with a strong sense of who they were in God, she said it created what looked like an unapproachable brightness around them. She said, identity is protection. People think protection is just prayer, but it's identity. The darkness doesn't touch what is claimed by light. That's when I realized something profound. Identity is not just psychological, it is spiritual armor. Many people deal with spiritual heaviness not because a demon is sitting on their destiny, but because they are wearing a name God never gave them. The moment you call yourself what trauma called you, you step into an identity that heaven never wrote. The moment you keep repeating what someone spoke over you in anger or ignorance, you accept a spiritual contract you never signed. Words form worlds, and you may be living inside a world someone spoke over you years ago, unknowingly carrying a label that has become spiritual weight.